James Cameron got the idea for the film during post-production of his previous film, Piranha 2: The Spawning. Since he'd been fired from the production, he had spent the last of his own money on the plane ticket to get to Rome, hoping to at least be involved in the editing process. Without money for proper food, he became increasingly sick and went to bed one night with a high fever. He had a nightmare of a metal endoskeleton emerging from flames, dragging itself over the floor holding kitchen knives. When he woke up, he immediately made a drawing of this vision. Most of the script was written backwards from there. The endoskeleton would have to be futuristic, but since Cameron couldn't afford to set the film in the future, the solution was to bring the future to the present. Hence, the time travel aspect of the script was written in. Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we're bringing you some Did You Know facts about the first Terminator movie. So, let's get started. According to a 2008 interview with Lance Henriksen, James Cameron had no agent and was living in his car when he wrote the script for the film. Cameron had actually fired his agent because he didn't like the story idea Cameron had conceived for the Terminator. The initial draft for the movie was sold to Gale Ann Hurd, James Cameron's production partner and former collaborator at New World Pictures, for the price of only $1. The symbolic gesture came with a blood oath. Hurd had promised to do everything in her power to get the film produced, but with Cameron as director. She kept her word and dismissed every studio that showed interest but wanted to ditch Cameron. James and Hurd would get romantically involved during the production of the movie and made Aliens and The Abyss together. This romance between them ended by the time they had finished The Abyss. While shooting this film, James Cameron often resorted to what he called guerrilla filmmaking as a way of getting around acquiring permits needed to film certain scenes. This involved the production crew and actors quickly arriving at a specified location, shooting the scene, and leaving before police arrived. As a result, some of the people seen in a few shots are actual everyday citizens completely unaware they're in a movie. This was also used for reshoots, with James Cameron even calling and waking Arnold Schwarzenegger once at 3 a.m. to meet him at a location already in full costume to quickly reshoot a scene. Cameron also used this tactic to film the very last scene where Sarah drives off into the desert. This almost backfired, however, when police came sniffing around. After Sylvester Stallone and Mel Gibson had already turned down the part, the studio looked to casting sports stars, eventually suggesting the football legend O.J. Simpson. Simpson's stardom off the football field was on the rise, as he had appeared in a number of movies and television shows throughout the 70s and 80s. But Cameron objected to Simpson's casting because he felt he was too nice to be taken seriously as a cold-blooded killer, and wouldn't be believable as a killing machine like the T-800. Arnold Schwarzenegger was originally being considered to play Kyle Reese instead of the Terminator. The bodybuilder-turned-actor had made something of a name for himself in The Long Goodbye, Pumping Iron, Conan the Barbarian, and when Orion Pictures executive Mike Medavoy met the actor at a party, he sent him the script for consideration. James Cameron, however, had envisioned Reese as a non-bulky and more sensitive man, so he was less than enthusiastic about casting a former Mr. Universe in the pivotal role. Largely on Medavoy's insistence, Cameron went out to meet and have lunch with him anyway. He later admitted that he had planned to pick a fight with Schwarzenegger so that he could claim the actor was impossible to work with. But against his expectations, they got along just fine, and Schwarzenegger showed great enthusiasm about the script in general, and its dark antagonist in particular, providing tips on how this villain should behave. It was then that Cameron had a change of heart and offered Schwarzenegger the title role of the Terminator, saying that this movie is not about the hero, it's about the Terminator. Schwarzenegger gladly accepted the role, in which he had only 14 lines, even overruling his agent who advised him against playing villains. Cameron and Schwarzenegger have been good friends ever since. The movie was released in the late 1980s in Poland under the title The Electronic Murderer. The title was changed because there's a Polish word Terminator, roughly meaning apprentice, so the title was changed to something more catchy and interesting to the audience. By the time Terminator 2 Judgment Day was released, the original movie was already widely available on pirate copies under its original title, and because of it, the word Terminator was widely recognized as the character played by Arnold Schwarzenegger instead of its original meaning, so all the sequels had their titles unaltered. In the film, the name of the nightclub where the Terminator first targets Sarah was named Tech Noir, after a film genre which James Cameron coined himself, in describing what category this film falls under, after dismissing notions that it was a mere horror or slasher film. Tech-noir films like Blade Runner and this film combine the old-style grittiness of noir films with the futuristic elements of a sci-fi thriller. Cameron himself had the club built specifically for the film and had to turn away local club-goers who thought tech-noir was a real nightclub. The building still exists, but it's now a jewelry store. James Cameron's original story idea was much more elaborate and involved Skynet sending 2 Terminators back in time. Cameron described the second villain as being made of liquid that couldn't be destroyed by conventional weapons. This new type of cyborg would have presumably been introduced as a later threat, after the T-800 had been dispatched. Cameron briefly considered claymation and dark shots to portray this shapeshifter, but he soon realized that the concept was too ambitious for what he could achieve with contemporary techniques. He also knew that his reputation at the time wasn't big enough to sell a story of such scope to a studio. When a completely computer-generated special effect proved to be a success in Cameron's The Abyss, he revived the idea of the liquid Terminator for the sequel, Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Arnold Schwarzenegger worked with guns every day for a month to prepare for the role. The first 2 weeks of filming, he practiced weapon stripping and reassembly blindfolded until the motions were automatic, like a machine. He spent hours at the shooting range and practicing with different weapons without blinking or looking at them when he was reloading or cocking. He practiced different moves up to 50 times. He wound up garnering a compliment in Soldier of Fortune magazine for his realistic handling of the guns on camera. Bill Paxton and Lance Henriksen are, so far, the only 2 actors to play characters killed or injured by a Terminator, an alien, and a Predator. Paxton's character was forcefully pushed away and into a gate, damaging his spine and killing him in the Terminator, had acid blood sprayed on him, and later was dragged under floors, then subsequently killed off-screen in Aliens, and also had his spine ripped from his body in Predator 2. Henriksen was shot in Terminator, ripped in two as an android in Aliens, and impaled by Predator in Alien vs. Predator. 7 separate artists worked around the clock for 6 months to create Cameron's vision of the Terminator skeleton puppet. It was created using clay, plaster, and urethane molding, which was then cast in a mixture of epoxy and fiberglass with reinforced steel throughout the rig. The whole skeleton was chrome-plated and distressed to look more realistic, and the final skeleton weighed more than 100 pounds. When they tried to puppeteer the skeleton walking on set, Cameron thought the lumbering rig didn't look real enough. To make up for the fake-looking walking, Cameron added a story beat that had the Terminator develop a limp after walking out of the fiery truck. So what other fun trivia facts do you know about Terminator? Did we get something wrong? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again in our next video.